Three, two, one, and we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sunshine Show. Kings, queens, and everything in betweens. I'm your host, Mayor Sunshine, joined by, what do you go by, Kyle Chaos?
Yeah.
Probably never heard of me. And of course, the one, the only, Plasma Jack.
Thank you for doing it properly this time, instead of misgendering me. I really liked the Kings, Queens, and In-Betweens bit, by the way. I'm a fan of that.
We're inclusive here. DEI is
I
not a
have
problem.
nothing to say.
What's going on, guys? How's life?
Not much. So we were having a great pre-pod conversation about Kyle's politics and/or religion.
Yeah, Kyle is anti-politics and anti-religion. He's only rebellion.
It sounds like you lean left-wing, though, Kyle. I'll say that.
Which one's that? Is that Democrat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean... But wait, by what? What did I give up? How did I give it away?
How did you give it away? Well, you were
Yeah.
saying that people say that you sound socialist, which
Oh,
is a
right.
precursor to communist. Socialism is pretty far.
But what
left.
about what makes you so, like, what do people say makes you socialist?
I think that people should get money for schools. I like helping out jails and stuff like that. I do believe... I don't know.
I think that's just like the innocent viewpoint of government, because like as a kid, when you growing up, what do you think? If you have a general idea of what taxes are going for, you would assume it's going to schools. It's going to. I would assume it's going to
This is why people shouldn't vote for your president. Vote for your mayor.
infrastructure.
Vote for your governor.
What do you think? What do you think our taxes are mostly spent on?
The war and the army.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be majority military.
It's one of the top four. So the top four are the military, Social Security, Medicare, and interest payments on debt. So
It's crazy the most we spend on war, but they're about to cut like 80,000 jobs away from veterans, or like not jobs from like veteran affairs.
yeah.
So it's gonna.
What is this? What are you guys talking about?
Look, we
Trump.
live in hell. This is our punishment for the sins of our fathers, is the way that I think of it. I think we should let
it's
Trump
just-
do his thing and just surrender the earth back to the animals.
I think it's a culling of the herd. I think you got to bob and weave right now and just try to, survive.
I think Trump knows what he's doing. I'm like, I don't get what he's doing. I'm just gonna trust in the leader of the country though right now, even though.
Playing 5D
So-
chess and we're all just playing checkers. That's
Yeah,
really what
no.
it is.
Like, I hope he knows what he's doing.
I'm sure. He sounds like a very intelligent, lucid man.
No, I mean whoever's in his pockets or in his ear, like I hope they know what they've done. Maybe I should say it like that, because Elon Musk coming out showing the world that billionaires run the world is kind of crazy because he want to be on TV.
I don't think he
I wouldn't lose
is
any sleep over it.
secure enough to be in the position he's in. I think he's very insecure in the public eye, and I don't think that you. I don't know. I want more transparency. I don't. That's what I really want, is more transparency on what things are being spent on. I think that was the Andrew Yang approach, right? I just want to know where military.
That's Yang Gang to this day.
I just want to know
You can
where.
Google that, like our budget is pretty transparent.
I wish there was an app where like you could like put any of your taxes into things like federally and statewide. You just have all your tax sitting there. You can just like push it out, and if you don't do it within a certain amount of time, then they can do whatever they want with it. But I do feel like it would be cool if like there was an app to control the way we put our taxes towards things. Because like if you're thinking about
That
it,
would
if you
be
think about
fat.
it,
That
like,
would
you
be
run-
interesting. That would be interesting to see what people would put their taxes toward the most, and see what we would be able to fund.
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying? Because in the reality of it, like people like me and you, even like people who make under 100,000, and even people who make just about over, really don't contribute anything, bro. Like the people who are
No, I disagree. I think we,
the 10%,
as the masses,
the 10% contribute 80% of the taxes in all of the like. So that's why they run the world. Like their taxes, a paycheck is like the taxes they get on one paycheck is it's probably the taxes we'll pay for our whole lives. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Sure, but it's not about
It's not much.
it's one of them versus 360 million of us. So
Right.
360.
That's why I feel like if we had an app, we could at least control what things can be done within our state. You know, you know what I mean? You don't think that'd
The
be a
problem
cool
is
ass idea?
you can't ensure
How
everyone
would
gets
you
their
want?
funding.
You would-
Like
you
where
know
it was,
how much taxes I got from my tax refund. Let me put my money where I want.
but
Florence Middle School got this.
But I'm
school-
saying you have $100 that you pay. Let's like keep it general. Let's say you pay $100 towards taxes, and you have to spend $100, and you have to give it to the government. How would you divvy that up?
So I can tell you what would happen theoretically. Because everyone loves NASA, NASA's budget would increase 10 times in year 1,
environmental, right?
and then no one would fund the Department of Transportation, and then potholes would destroy everyone's car,
Oh, that's
and then
one
everyone
thing-
would be like,
That's one thing. I'm sorry, I interrupted. I'm sorry. I'm
"You're
fucking-
fine." Year 2, we would correct and get a lot better and be like, "Actually, we need to fund the roads pretty badly."
Because are we disbanding the Department of Education right now? Because I would fund that. I would definitely put
Yeah.
funding towards Department of Education.
So
Yeah.
just to run it back to Elon real quick. One of the things he wants to do with Trump is privatize the transportation thing because of how dirty it is. So our taxes wouldn't pay for the transportation. Like Elon's trying to buy up, like.
But the
public
entire
transportation.
the entire purpose of public transportation right now is like how it's affordable. If you privatize public transportation, you then make it inaffordable, and it no longer
It's not affordable
public transportation.
for people who don't have a job on a day to day, like who need to use it every day, like who don't have transportation at all.
I think public
It's actually
transportation
not
is like the
super
last.
expensive.
I mean, forgive me if
New
I'm
Jersey
privileged
is
in
not.
this.
New Jersey is pretty cheap, but in like New York and like that's like I heard like there's just all these things about it being mad expensive, and that it's like super dirty.
It's the cheapest form of transportation. I don't know what would be cheaper than public transportation.
Actually, Kyle is right if I'm correct that like owning a car is so much more, even just in terms of time. Like,
Yeah.
'cause some people need to travel. It's not just I need to take the bus to get to work. It's I need to take the bus to get to the train station to get to the next bus to go to work.
Right.
And so that might only amount to $8 a day, but when you consider how much it costs to run your car over the course of a day or a month, it is actually way
That's
more
about
expensive.
$8 a day.
What are you?
I used to work
I
in
think
New
you
York.
guys.
And I had to take two buses and just a little train ride down the thing, and then I had to work the 8 hours. Right? Well, it was 8 hours for this job, and I would have to come back and take the train again like the same.
I have a
day came.
completely
So
different
it's
perspective.
like
I have a completely different
$32.
perspective. I think the average person is taking 1 to 2 buses to get to work, or maybe a train to get to work, and that's $8 a day. Let's call it $8 a day for your 5 days.
No, bro, it's 30. Bro, it's like at least $10 to get to if you're taking.
Okay, but let's compare that to driving to work, sitting in traffic, using your gas. If we're talking the distance, if this distance was so far that you had to take 2 buses, I'm assuming it's a fair distance that you have to use a decent amount of gas. And you're paying insurance, you're paying registration, you're paying upkeep on the car, consistent maintenance. Because every time
See,
you're
I
up,
think-
every time I'm up in life, something wants to break on my car.
I can't use my car. There's situations where people can't even use their car to get their work on time.
I don't
It's
think.
situations that you might not be familiar with, but look it up, bro. Like,
I think it's a
And
matter.
also-
I think it's nuanced. I think it's a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
I think
But
it all
also-
depends. Go ahead.
no,
So to
I'm
cut-
saying that's why there's the statistics that they brought up for his reasons to privatize it is mind blowing. And my license.
If
on
you
24,
wanted to
bro.
leave your house right now to get to Philadelphia, what is the cheapest way for you to get there?
I would have to take a bus. I know how to already do it. I
That,
would take the 409.
but I'm saying,
I would take the 409.
done. That's the end of conversation. I'm saying if you needed to leave your house right now, the cheapest way to.
Or you could use, would it be cheaper to use a car or use public transportation?
But then you have to park your car. You have to pay for
they-
parking.
Parking, it's like, but some people
There's
don't
no
have their
fucking
license.
parking authority in Philadelphia. You can park
Wait, remember
What are
I
you
just
talking
said?
about? What? That is completely absurd. That's a privilege. That is a privileged viewpoint. I've gotten multiple park. I'm not allowed. I can't drive a car in Philadelphia. I owe the city of Philadelphia like $400 in parking tickets.
Word up.
Like no way.
But
Like I
remember
can't.
what I
It's
just
not
said.
true at all.
We all agree public transportation should be the cheapest way to get from point A to point B. But another thing you're forgetting, aside from facts like, Kyle saying some people are corralled into public transport, but even
Yeah.
disregarding that, a bus doesn't just go from wherever you are to wherever you need it to go. Bus stops are predetermined on the route.
I'm
So you
saying
might have
the
to-
average individual, if you're starting from zero, if you're starting coming out of high school, if you come out, sorry to keep cutting you off. If you're coming out of high school and you don't have any money, all right, you're starting off fresh. I'm talking about ground zero, or you have you lost everything and you have to start from ground zero. Okay, I'm sorry, but down bad, or just you're starting your journey. You have no credit, whatever the case may be. If you're starting from zero, you don't have the means to buy a vehicle off the rip. You don't have $1,000. You don't have the money to buy a car, so you're paying public transportation off the rip. I'm saying it's not even a possible means to get the vehicle until you're working for a considerable amount of time, especially nowadays. Nowadays.
Actually, the real question is, do you think it'd be better privatized or the way that it is now?
Fuck no, not privatized. I can tell you that.
No, I don't think privatize is the way to do it. I think privatize opens the market for competing public transportation, and now it's up to their means, because if you Kyle own the bus, I own the bus. It's when I say, as opposed to us the people owning the bus. We say, because it's the government, it's public transportation. Now
It'll become a monopoly overnight.
yeah,
Whatever.
No,
It-
exactly. Well, I mean, that's exactly the issue that people were trying to say, because you are monopolized. You would, if someone's being allowed to do it, then Elon would probably be the one monopolizing it.
Exactly. And
I'm not an
he's going to raise
Elon
prices and profit.
hater. I dislike many decisions. We talk about him like in damn near every episode.
Well, no,
But he's the
it's-
richest man in the world. I mean, and he's head of Doge and all this other stuff. He's a prevalent individual as of right now. I'm not an Elon hater, but I do not trust him. I don't trust him in his position that he's in right now.
I don't know his intentions.
Because you're already the richest man in the world, so now, like, what are your intentions? You say one thing. I don't trust Elon with my information. I especially with his Tesla company floundering. He's desperately reaching out to his stockholders and telling everyone to hold. Like, that was such a desperate play. Like
Trump saying that boycotting is illegal.
Dude, it's not. And like, and he still remains like the richest man in the world, but I don't think you become the richest man in the world without,
Do you understand what that means, though? With the richest man in the world, like, through stocks, through other people's investments.
Yeah.
So if everybody took out their investments in Tesla, I mean, like, he would be broke, right? Essentially.
No, because he's got the Boring Company. He's got he's got PayPal. He's
SpaceX.
But his 300 billion mostly comes from,
Tesla,
like,
yeah.
Tesla is a $1 trillion company, I believe, and a third of that, which I
Not
believe he
anymore.
owns.
not anymore. Especially it's dropped,
fair.
especially with everything going on. But
It's gone down by 50% in like the past 2 months.
But it's not just Tesla. It's Tesla, what is it? SpaceX. It's the Boring Company. It's PayPal.
What's the Boring Company? That sounds familiar. Do they do robots and shit?
We were actually, I don't know what they do. I know
might
they
have been-
sold. I think it's just an excuse to they needed funding
Make
for the
a flamethrower.
Hyperloop. They did the
Flamethrower thing,
flamethrower.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what made them.
I know what
viral.
you're talking about.
They want to do They do this Hyperloop, which is the idea that it's a Hyperloop is an ultra high speed public transportation system in which passengers travel in autonomous electric pods at 600 plus miles per hour. The Boring Company tunnels
Autonomous.
support both. What did I say?
Artemis.
Oh no! Oh
And
no!
this is in Beijing, right?
Cut it.
Or no, it's called.
Cut it.
I swear to God, it sounds like a racist ass country, but they got a hyperloop in China, and I think it's called Ching Chong something. I swear to God, I think there's a city called Ching Chong.
Kyle just got us canceled. Episode 5.
I swear to God.
Hyperloop.
Look it up. Don't cancel me.
Hyperloop train.
Yeah, I mean that's what he's trying to invent is the train.
The train.
Like we have,
it.
He's trying
Yeah.
to invent the train.
like we don't need a hyperloop. Just make a train.
Just
A
make a bullet train. Just make a bullet train. It just sounded cool and spacey, so everyone was like, "Oh, this is the future." I personally feel as if Elon is a master marketer. I think he is the king of marketing. I think too many of his projects are failing. Because I don't think the Hyperloop is gonna be fulfilled. The thing that people don't talk about with Teslas is like Teslas have no shelf life. Like Tesla.
Kyle, do you want to give your take on Elon Musk and then I'll give mine?
Word. Let's all go down.
I found the city. It's called Chongqing. I
Chongqing.
wasn't lying. It's Chongqing.
And what do they have? A Hyperloop.
Bullet train that goes in between buildings.
That's cool.
Okay.
I don't really.
verify.
I think Elon Musk is just like I just like how I look at Mark Zuckerberg is just like this kid drop. It's like a reason to go to college. And even if you're a dropout, even if you're gonna drop out, even though you don't do, you meet the people. You meet the people. You go to college to meet like-minded people. And even though they dropped out, they fucking made PayPal, and his journey continues. And it's just like as a businessman, and how I always tell people to fucking go to school and shit. I think that's a good example. You know
Dude,
what I
he's
mean?
dope. I mean, he when he was launching rockets with SpaceX, he consistently failed, and he bet his entire company's stock on his last rocket launch, and it was successful. And if he was unsuccessful, it would be done. His story is fascinating. He's an interesting person. I don't think necessarily he's a bad person. I don't know him well enough to judge one way or the other. I know he has like 12 or 13 kids. I think it's crazy.
I didn't know when the celebrity kicked in. That's it.
I
don't.
Yeah, no, I want to hear Ron. Yeah, go ahead.
I think Elon Musk is a sociopath and a closeted Nazi. He's a bad father.
Why Nazi? Why Nazi?
Wait, no. You know why he's a bad father? His fucking kids is like 82397A or something.
For starters, he also like clearly doesn't take care
Stop.
of
That's not the name of his children.
I wasn't done yet, by the way.
It's name.
All right, sociopath, closeted Nazi, trust fund kid, who is into nerdy stuff, but is actually, can we say the R word on this podcast?
I'll bleep it.
He may as well. He's downright retarded, and it's well known that he's addicted to ketamine, and he's spiraling, and I'm here for it.
He is public about it.
He's literally just been handed lottery ticket after lottery ticket, to quote John Cena, but he's much less like gracious about it than John Cena. His dad gifted him an emerald mine. He invested in PayPal. He didn't help design it. He tried to call it X. They eventually wrestled control away from him to call it PayPal. That's where most of his wealth came from. With SpaceX and Tesla, he just says, build this to make it do this, and then lets the engineers figure it out. When they do, which they don't always because he has such strict deadlines. Case in point, what Kavam was saying about the rockets with SpaceX, with the Cybertruck now having its 4th recall.
And he's profit driven. Like when COVID hit, he was telling everyone to go back to work and start doing work in the Tesla warehouses when there was a national crisis going on. And
Yeah. He's a sociopath, plain and simple, and he's not very intelligent. He's good at pretending like he's intelligent, but he's
great
a
marketer.
fucking
He's a
bitch.
pretender. He's an actor.
Asperger's or some shit. I think he's just a little slow. But how is he not intelligent?
He hasn't actually engineered any of the things that he says he's engineered. He has engineers do that for him.
He didn't invent
He's
the
never-
Tesla car. He's just the owner of the company.
Neither did Henry Ford. Henry Ford didn't invent the goddamn car.
There's definitely cutting corners. There's definitely risk, and there's definitely a lack
if you
of
look at
empathy for others.
If you look at all the departments that he's cutting right now, it's government agencies that have tried to sue him for like breaking the law.
and there's like a
the
lack.
FAA.
That's fucking crazy. That's crazy.
He's
There's a
not
lack of empathy for
actually-
others, dude. Like he said, that's the sociopathic aspect to him. He's about him and his.
What's also funny is that Kyle, you compared him to Henry Ford, another known neo-Nazi, or I guess back then it was just Nazi.
The saying about him is that he wants to save the world, but only if he's the one that saves it.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound evil to me. It sounds like a fucking nerd.
So here's another another characteristic faux pas, and us as not
What was the last word?
faux pas, like
French.
So
Faux pas.
See, Kavan and I are actual nerds. So
yeah, dude, I'm an actual nerd, and I'll stand on that.
I'm only a nerd for entertainment, so you guys got that.
So Elon
Yeah,
Musk
well,
said that he was the 7th highest ranked Path of Exile player in the world.
that was a lie, right?
Yes. He
He's
had
having like
a Chinese
players
team like play for him.
But why do we care? Why do we care right now? I'm sorry,
Because
I'm not trying
one,
to-
it's weird to lie. If you're the richest man in the world, why be insecure about that? Why? Who cares if you're the 154th person in the
right,
world?
and he's getting involved.
And
why
you
is stuff
have,
like that getting involved in
and
the
if
government,
you,
right?
if we would understand if you're running the Boring Company and running Tesla, and you have 12 kids, and you're running Twitter.
12 kids?
12. I think he has
Something like that, yeah.
14. I'm lowballing it. I think he has 14.
12 or 14.
Bro, you have to see, and all his baby mamas are crashing out on Twitter,
I
like,
see.
come home. With like, he'll like say something like political, and like his baby mamas are like, your children are sick, we need you. It's like so, it's
It
so.
sounds like a baby mom rapper. Like, damn,
Dude,
a
the-
rapper of a baby mom.
The
like,
world we
come
live in
on.
is crazy.
It's
The world
crazy.
it's
he has
so
more
crazy.
kids than an NBA player. It's
Right,
really
bro.
insane, and he doesn't. So the reason that we brought up the Path of Exile thing, Kyle, you asked why that matters.
That's
is because
character
it's a-
judging. Like, I'm judging you based on your character.
yeah.
Like, that's
It's
what
a-
I'm saying. That's weird. That's weird. Like, if my
It's a-
friend did that, like, I'd be like, oh, that's sus. Like, I want to leave my sister
a-
around you type shit. Like, that's
it's
weird.
a perfect microcosm for everything else that he does.
Yeah.
He will have SpaceX build a rocket, and then I did that. And it's like he didn't actually do it. You said I want a rocket.
That's like,
do this
to
by
me,
this date."
that's like the most schemy. That's like, everyone like knows about the 48 laws of power, but to me, that's the law of power that I've always stood against, is like getting others to do things for you and then taking credit for it. I think that to me is one of these.
Sound like Disney.
Right. Or any and every corporation, in all honesty. That's just corporations in general, how I feel about them. I think corporations often, or just most people at the top, many people at the top, and this is me from someone who's at the bottom, say many people at the top get to the top by stepping on people, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Not everyone, of course.
Not everyone.
like,
Not everyone.
Pe-
Not everyone.
People are gonna watch this and say, "Oh, this is just a bunch of communists." No, not every business is based in exploitation, but some are. Some are based in exploitation.
But I want to get the
Yeah.
viewpoint and the understanding from someone who looks the other way.
Too.
If people
just
feel
how it used to
differently,
be.
and then, so PJ, explain to me the opposite viewpoint then.
PJ.
Explain to me how it is that I am wrong.
Yeah,
from their
PJ,
view.
explain it.
So I wouldn't say you're wrong holistically, but like there are instances where a CEO, you could absolutely make the case, are worth what they bring to the table, right? This comes back to like the free hand of the market, but if you put me or you in charge of Apple for a year,
Oh, of
yeah,
course.
I mean,
No, no.
we
I
need,
absolutely. In that aspect, I do agree. I don't think that. I don't think everything is handed.
yeah, yeah,
I think people do work to get into their positions.
yeah.
You know.
And some people are
I
worth
just don't
that.
think we could talk about it because we've never been in their position as well, too. We don't know what it takes to make a PayPal.
Sure.
We
I
don't
can.
I
I
know
wouldn't.
also
what do you know what it takes to grow
I
a
wouldn't
company?
compare myself to an Elon Musk or Bill Gates or anything. Like
Here's what I'll say though, to Kyle's point. So in my job, which I will not disclose, part of my whole anonymous thing, I work with CEOs on a daily basis. Like one of my jobs is literally to talk to CEOs of a bunch of different companies.
Okay.
Some of them are really sharp and know the business inside and out and worked for 40 years to get there. And some of them, their dad was the CEO and now they're the CEO.
But that's
And
how
that
it is, though.
right.
But
Sometimes it's
that's
that. Yeah.
what you're
That's
supposed to
that's the
do.
way of the
That's what
world.
you're supposed to do. There
That's the
ain't
way of the
nothing wrong with
world.
that. I want my kid to. I wish that's not even a thing that really happens anymore. People passing down companies. I mean, God bless them. What's wrong with that?
I mean, it's nothing wrong with it if the person isn't inherently exploitative, but another trend that I've seen is
When you say this,
people.
not to cut you off, before you go to the next point, to keep on that. So when you're saying these people who are get handed down this every and 100% cases that you've seen, they're like corrupt people.
Not 100%, but it's definitely like 60% compared
And what if
to.
you, without disclosing too much, what do you? I don't know. I'm not trying to ask you what your
They're not
job
there
is, but
based
like,
on merit.
Yeah, so the ones that are more. I don't like to use the word corrupt, but certainly like more likely to be like exploitative or abusive. The ones that are handed their job are much more likely to scream at employees or fire people willy nilly or whatever. Probably because they don't understand what it takes to get to.
Like a sense of entitlement. And when you're, I love, we talked about it before. We love an underdog or from the ground up story. Someone from the bottom who understands what it means to be the working man. If
natural
you are,
humbleness comes
as
from it.
opposed to being handed something, there's a different perspective. And if you were handed something, you're going to be more willing to cut off advantages for the working man because you haven't been in that position.
Or exploit them or use them and say, why can't they work 60 hours a week?
Right.
I literally see
For
it
less money.
all the time. There's a certain region that I work in where that kind of thing is much more commonplace to hand down basically, a bank in some cases and say, okay,
That sounds about right.
my son is now the
Owner of
board
it, Wells
the-
Fargo. How crazy would that be?
Yeah, the chair of the
That's it.
board and the CEO, right? And then that guy or gal will put crazy expectations on their employees sometimes. And, like, well, why can't you work 80 hours a week? To someone who's not making $250,000 a year, by the way. Like, this isn't putting that pressure exclusively on, the chief financial officer or something. This is like putting it on people pretty low in the ranks. And,
Right.
um, as opposed to, like I said, the ones that you can tell are really merit based. There's one company that we work for. The guy came from one of the management consulting companies, like Bain or McKinsey, which they have a historic reputation of being like sociopaths. This guy is not a sociopath. He worked his ass off. He knows the business really well. He worked at one of these firms, and now he's a very competent CEO, and he looks out for his people, and It's not a 1-to-1. I can't say that. Yeah, if you have a kid and you give them the reins to your organization, it's 100.
I would expect them to be a good father. If I feel like if they're a fucking shitty fucking person.
What does it take to become a CEO?
The main point is.
You're right. I like that. I like that point. What's it take to be a CEO? Not just getting a hand down. You're right.
Handing it down as opposed to working your way. I almost like the idea more of the board of directors because it seems more democratic. It seems more a group of us have decided.
CEOs like their dad didn't like make them work in the company before they moved up.
So that's what I was gonna say is, and when I was saying what does it take to become a CEO, one of the things I was alluding to is, you say you can be a good father and this and that, but sometimes becoming the CEO means working 60 hours a week and not spending as much time with your kid and imparting those values onto them. And yes, they do oftentimes make them work lower in the organization, but this is what happens. I'm going to paint a picture for you, because at one of the companies I work for, the CEO, his last name, we'll say it's, I don't know, I'm trying to think of one that, we'll say Goldman. It's Menendez, because, or Goldman. They're not Jewish, by the way, in the banking industry where I was referring to. But let's say it is Goldman for whatever reason, right? The company that I'm working for, there are like 5 Goldmans working in the company at various levels. Some of them very low level, right? Like frontline, just like packing boxes, right?
And to be honest, like that's what you expect. You would, if you owned a company and build a company, you would want to be able to employ your family. Like that's not a negative aspect for it.
That's handing down the company to the kids. You're like,
100%. Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. I have seen where those kids will make a mistake in that job, and their supervisor does not punish them, or talk to them about it even, because they're afraid of the CEO.
Sure.
Power imbalance. And so
I can see that.
Even if they're working the lower levels, they don't understand the climb in the same way that someone else understands the climb, because even then they're being given special privileges or whatever that the average person doesn't have,
Yeah, right, but I also break rules, so I'm a little empathetic for that.
Probably. Was it? Yeah. Sorry.
I said I break the rules, so I'm a little empathetic towards them in that regard. My issue is when people. My only issue with corporations.
Before though, you've gotten.
My only issue with corporations is the disproportion of wealth. CEOs getting a gross amount of money and keep getting more and more money while people at the bottom get less and less and less. And
I mean, wait. So how is it supposed to be distributed? Because are we
Japanese style? When Japanese CEOs.
You know what people need to do? You should ask your job for some stock into the company when you start, because you're allowed to do that.
No, yeah, absolutely, and you can do that.
Because that's what you're asking for. You're asking for a percentage of the profits, and in order to do that, I mean, like.
So let's talk about one. Let's Walmart, for example. Walmart for me is one of the most disgusting corporations for the way they get their products through the child enslavement. That's.
I didn't know that. What, like their clothes or like food?
If one product is child labor, for me, it's all child labor. If 10 of them are child labor, it's all child labor. I think it's no secret that it's a good percentage of it. Apart from that, why are your registers empty? Why are all your cash registers empty?
What do you mean?
Why are all the cash registers? Why are there no cashiers? Ask yourself that. Why are there no cashiers?
Because they don't want to pay to have a human there when they could have a machine do it.
Okay.
I don't even have a problem with that. I think that...
like I said, I'm a felon, whatever. You better get a goddamn real job. Like, those jobs... I feel like... And I don't even want to go into...
What jobs, though? They're like, that's insane. Like,
immigrants. But, like, those are jobs for teenagers. There's Walmart.
That's a talking point. That's an easy talking point to make when there's enough jobs for everyone to go around. Would you say there's?
It's hard to look for them, but yeah.
I think it's geographically based. Like if you're in New York,
I think job sites like LinkedIn and Indeed and Glassdoor, there's an issue there where it's hard to find a job because people are only conditioned to go to Indeed or LinkedIn and now everybody feels like there's no jobs open, but then there's fucking you look online, there's 50 million jobs open that I can't even find.
I don't.
If there were enough jobs, it wouldn't be hard for you to find them.
Right. And what I'm saying is I think I think you've been conditioned to feel that way. Why can't we just pay people a livable wage? I think that's what I'm saying. If you go to other countries,
universal basic income.
but no, if you go to other countries, it's more commonplace to have livable wages. Not necessarily just as a cashier, but I think you can survive easier as a cashier in the UK than you can in America.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 3 kids, don't be a cashier though.
I mean, that's it's all nuanced. It's all nuanced.
Yeah, I mean, like,
we can find.
Like if you're a cashier, if I was a cashier when we and you used to live together when I was like 19 and you was like 20 or whatever. If we both was cashiers, we could have lived there paying rent.
I always like to use the 18-year-old adult coming out of high school because I feel like that's a place where the 99.9% of people have been. I think otherwise we could find different nuanced individuals to showcase our points. Otherwise, you can talk about one person with 3 kids who's taking advantage of the system, whereas I'm talking about one person who
or not. Right.
I might talk about a veteran who's been raped by the system, so to speak. You know, so like it's always back and forth. That's why I think it's best to talk about the 18-year-old youth, where as you get out of high school as a starting point, as a country, what options do we give you? I think that's how you judge a country. For me personally, and everyone's different. Everyone's different. But for me, what can you do?
Here's the problem though with that, Kyle, is that there's only so much demand for college-educated jobs, and especially when you take into account the different majors, like, okay, art history. How many jobs are there available to an art history major, right? Go to college doesn't necessarily encompass...
You have to be willing to move, too. Like, you can't look for the demand of where you live. You need to look where the demand of the job requires itself. That's why if you want to be an actor, you got to go to LA.
But then again,
you might if you're trying to do art, Oklahoma. There's nobody. It's like the WNBA. Like nobody's paying to.
But that's still and these are still those are fantastical things. We're talking about the average individual. I think those.
That's the average.
An actor or WNBA, you still are competing against.
He said art. He said art history.
Like, yeah, but if
I guarantee you, there's no place on the planet with enough jobs to cover the art history graduates.
Right, 100, definitely not, because they would all be competing.
But that's what comes with it in a backup plan. I'm not saying it like I did it. I'm just saying like I wish I thought like this when I was a kid.
I agree that people should go to college and that the whole like just ignore college, go to trade school thing is overblown. I think that you have to pick your major carefully, and I think that even then it's not as simple as just saying everybody should go to college, because that's literally what China did, which is part of the reason why their economy is in such a precarious
because
situation right
individuals with degrees are struggling to find jobs right now.
Yeah.
Individuals.
Way too many college graduates.
College graduates are working at Walmart. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, because they don't have any.
Because of the market, though. Because of the market. If the market was good, then you would be able to prepare for the opportunity for you to get something farther in life because you've already covered those bases at college at a young age.
And so I further feel
22. What are you going to be doing? You might as well you're trying to fuck bitches. You're trying to do whatever. You're not even focusing on a career.
But the market is only bad because of greed. Because there's individuals who are not willing to.
But you got to prepare yourself.
What do you mean? Let's hone in. Are we talking about 18-year-old person like going into the world? Are we talking about judging countries? Like,
No. So the question was that you said earlier. You said, "What is there for America to give to an 18-year-old when they're done high school?" Correct.
and I think there's tons of options. I think there's tons of
Because they gave you
options.
till sophomore year to figure out what the fuck you want to do with your life.
Absolutely. I think there are options. But I think there's also so much competition that if there's not enough jobs for all of the college graduates, there isn't enough. There aren't enough opportunities for everyone, which means some people inevitably are going to have to lose. And I think that is a American perspective, and that's American conditionalism, and that it doesn't have to be that way. I think there's enough food and enough wealth to go around for everyone, but we've just already decided that we're just going to stick to this capitalistic society that chooses some win, some lose.
I just feel like people shouldn't. I feel like you're making it when you say if people watch this, you can't make it sound like it's hopeless to be in America. It does feel like that, but there's opportunity.
No, I don't think it's hopeless to be in America. I am very fortunate to live in America. Having been to very few countries, I do love being an American. I do love living in America, and I do think that it is full of opportunities. I think the conservative point of view is the acceptance that some people are going to win and some people are going to lose. And I feel like the leftist point of view is that we want everyone to win, if that makes sense. If
or at least have the
not everybody
opportunity.
can win.
Yeah.
Not everybody can win.
But I still feel like that's a mindset.
Statistically,
I still feel like
it's
that's a
impossible.
I feel and that's like and I feel as if
Explain how everybody can win.
because we throw out 40% of our food. There's enough food to feed everyone. And the fact that we as humans have decided that food has a price tag, and that because that not everyone can afford the price tag, we'd rather throw out 40% of it than feed our hungriest people. I think we're fucking stupid for that. And I think
Also, Kyle, when you
But
when
who's
you
going
hear
to pay
Kavan
for the
say,
labor to get the food?
again,
Hold
it goes
on,
back to
Kyle.
paying. I think that's capitalistic. That's a capitalistic viewpoint. And
That's what America's built on, buddy.
yes, 100%.
doesn't mean
But
it's
that doesn't
good.
have to stay that way. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
The conversation needs to start changing into a different mindset.
What country with 360 million people it runs like give me an idea like I always hear like Norway but they
If
got like
Kyle,
300,000 people.
if in the future everything is automated, and you don't need the labor force of 360 million people, you need a different mindset. You can't survive on capitalism because there aren't jobs for everyone. You
What
need
else
so
what
that
else
means
is up there for somebody with
you're
for-
not
for a
gonna
country
like
with
this.
a
You're not gonna like
population?
this, but socialism, communism, and it's
Well, I said I'm a socialist. So you're bringing
But
it
also,
back.
no, I want to backpedal because when Kavan said, you know, the left wants everyone to win, and you like scrunched your face and were like, not everyone can win. You're thinking like not everyone can win a race, but like everyone. Can
I just want
win a
everyone
game
to
of
eat.
politics.
I didn't want everyone to be
Potentially.
eat and get out the rain. That's what I'm saying.
Having
But
a
when's
roof
the
over your head.
accountability for the people who are not winning?
What do you think our government should be responsible for providing? For me, I'm with public transportation, infrastructure, education to a degree.
No, make sure nobody's invading my country.
Right,
Nobody's
protection.
like you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's really like.
But then-
that's really it.
And I
You don't
think
think cops should be a thing?
Oh no, that's what I mean too. Protection. Yeah, no, I like that.
And here's
I
it- and
I
here's-
don't really like cop, but I like the idea of a good cop.
And here's the problem of the leftist rose-colored goggles. In like the utopia leftist like future, there's no walls and people don't need the protection. And the
I
idea
think the government provides a lot for us, though.
100%, but I think it also is corrupt to a degree. I think it's give and take, yin and yang, as is everything.
But I feel like we need to like start like figuring out who to blame because even the FBI and CIA are beefing with each other. The government isn't just like one entity. There's like certain things
Because you don't
moved.
need it to, if you, I also prefer it that way because you need checks and balances.
Right.
You need that beef. You need that
You need
beef.
someone
You
to
need
point the
someone.
finger.
Maybe
I-
not the
I-
CIA. I don't like when they beef with anyone, but
I would prefer the FBI and CIA to investigate each other, because if the CIA starts doing some
Look
shit,
at the corruption, like you can tell that they're not in one unit. They don't even know what's going on.
if the CIA does something wrong, who are you and me? How are we gonna call them out?
No, but what I'm saying is, as a society, the things that I have a problem with, whatever, public transportation, homeless people, whatever, who do I point a finger at?
I mean the government.
The government, but the government just blames DEI and.
That one entity. Like I need to.
But that's why we're saying. So that's.
Yo, it's so fucked up.
No, I'm kidding. So the answer, Kyle, is probably
Us.
this is a really complex question, so it's tough to give a really simple answer, right?
Who do you point the finger at?
But yeah, right? It sounds simple, but for what, right? So let's say homelessness. Well, why are people homeless? Well, the government could probably provide houses, but we certainly don't have the funding. There's a lot of bureaucratic red tape, so some of the blame should be pointed at the Congress people, right? But also, like, okay, why do we not have enough funding? Well, we could tax the rich a lot more and have a lot more funding, and they'd still be rich. So some of the blame's probably on the billionaires who are constantly lobbying with government to not have to pay as much in taxes. So the answer is there's a lot of finger pointing to go around, and a lot of it is deservedly so. But it's not necessarily one guy. Now, the president is going to set the tone at the top, so that's why the president, for better or for worse, not just Trump, but Biden too, is a lightning rod for a lot of criticism because they are supposed to set the tone. But there isn't a single guy you can necessarily point to.
No, but you just pointed your finger at the billionaires, the super rich.
Right, how many fingers
That's
do I
kind of
need?
been a theme of this conversation.
Yeah. So what's your point then?
I don't think that's who. I don't think that's it. I think we even as much as like you could take money from them, it still doesn't do anything.
What?
Even like for the system, is there a system in place now for in America right now for people to get free housing and money from the government? There's a system for that right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How successful is that system to bring that person to the next level? Is there do we know any statistic backup? Because I believe it was said that it's a generational failure.
I don't think there's enough housing for everyone for starters. Like that's
no, but even when they provide housing, even when there's a system in place, right, and they see the results of what they have, right? Because I done got me some free housing and some goddamn food stamps, and I'm struggling out here. But I do think there could be something else for me to point the finger out to help me out. But I'm saying, like, I don't know. You can't point it out. It's not super rich.
First off, when you say how successful are these government programs, again, that is such a broad and complicated question. You need to narrow it down, because what does success even mean, right? What does it mean
Right, define it. What are we complaining about?
So
it still comes down
here's
to
the second thing. You just said you rely on some government programs. Would you be better off without them?
right.
No. So I'm saying that no. I agree that the government should get housing. I'm not saying not to do that, but I don't think there's anybody giving a reason to. You know what I mean? Like, say if somebody who's rich and is generationally wealthy and they don't know about what it's like to be in them streets, right? When they try to look at the thing statistically, I'm telling you, it looks like we as the people are fucking up.
But the reason to do it is that it exists. I get what you're saying. It's perspective based, but the reason to do it is that it exists. That if you're at the top, you see the homelessness, and it's a problem. And
But how to fix this? How to fix it? Even Elon said in a tweet, like, if I donated $100 billion, I still don't think we can fix homelessness.
Of course he's gonna say that because it's coming out of his fucking pocket.
But how do you do? Say if you had $100 billion, what are you supposed to do? You just build a bunch of
build homes. You're overcomplicating it, and that's when the bureaucratic aspect overcomplicated.
Privatized everything, but it is complicated. I'm starting to realize, like, even for you to solve these problems,
But what
if
complicates
everything belongs
it?
to somebody
But
else.
listen. But again, what we're saying, what complicates it, is the bureaucratic capitalistic aspect of it, because it's
That we
all
all benefit
for
from.
you. For you, it comes back to money. Eventually, I think we're coming to that threshold now. We're seeing there's not enough food, money. There's not enough for everybody, and that's why the world is on fire. There is not enough for everybody. There is, but people are hoarding it. People are hoarding it. That's what the real issue is. That's what I should say. That there's enough for everyone, but people are hoarding it, and now not everyone has equal access.
I agree. I think free housing, that'd be fucking lit. Like, I think.
But then you have a disproportion to housing. But then you're
give me
getting
an example of a country that has 360 million people that doesn't use capitalism to succeed.
All right, so you've been saying that a couple times, and I've bitten my tongue, but that's kind of an arbitrary metric that you're saying, because there's only there's only 3 countries, I think, with that population. It's China, India, and the U.S. So I get that you're saying that Sweden is a lot smaller, but setting the threshold that, give me an example of a country with 300 million people that does
I think
this.
it matters. Because it's literally dealing with each individual. I'm counting every individual that we need to help out, correct?
Of course. But what I'm saying is, first of all, can we look to a country that has 10 million people or 50 million people? And if they have a good solution, can we try to copy that? Also, saying, give me an example of a country with 300 million people that does this, sounds like you're saying we have a lot of people and it's really complicated, so why bother trying to fix it at all? Which is...
No. I'm trying to say, to convince the people, you have to have an argument. You have to, instead of us being online, we should be stepping to the podium and figuring out their rebuttals and what they would say. I always say that, like, you have to figure out who you're talking to, where's the issues, which issue are we talking about. I wish we could get free everything, whatever. That'd be fucking cool. But how is it?
I hate to bring politics up so consistently, but my viewpoint of Trump is that Trump is one of these people that he claims to be draining the swamp of. That is what the problem is. The people who are in charge are the swamp monsters that are the people.
What do you mean by that? I'm sorry, I don't follow.
Trump's campaign was talking about draining the swamp.
Trump's campaign was, we're going to get rid of corruption, and Kavan's saying he's one of the most corrupt people out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on your side on that. I don't like politicians.
Right.
I don't celebrity worship. I don't like.
But I also find him to be
asking as a friend, educate me on the answers, because that'd be fucking dope.
So I'm gonna do my best, Kyle, and this is not. It's tough because, like you started to kind of realize a lot of these problems are really complicated. I had this conversation with my dad recently, which was like, he's pretty right wing, but he was like, well, why can't we just build a wall? And I said, well, 90% of illegal immigrants, like, they fly in and they overstay their visa. So a wall doesn't even stop 90% of the problem, right?
It was also the dressing up of the wall. The wall was said it was supposed to rival that of the Great Wall of China.
My point was, I said to my dad, it's not going to be, whatever the answer is, even if you really care about immigration, it's not going to be a simple solution. Because if it was a simple solution, we probably would have figured it out 10 years ago.
What we're saying is the solution to immigration isn't just building a wall. One, the building of the wall is going to hit us in the taxes for sure. We're now what is it, $5 billion, and then like millions of dollars in maintenance costs across the next 20 years because you have to.
I don't mind that though, but
it's to do something that has virtually ineffective because we're still it's doing nothing to prevent immigration.
Oh, it's not doing anything.
Exactly. That's my issue with it. That's my major issue. That's why I think, and I was never under the guise that Mexico was going to pay for it. I thought that was stupid, and I thought that people who believed that were not thinking clearly. Now, the other issue is Trump also is the only one talking about draining the swamp. The left isn't talking about draining the swamp. So when you're the only guy talking about clearing up the corruption, of course that is a likable aspect. That's charming.
We're talking about like 3 different things, by the way, right now.
Okay.
I know that's why I feel like it's my fault too.
No. So, I gotta blame that one on Kavan. So
Sure.
What Kyle is asking is, I don't think he's pushing back necessarily on any of these things. I think he's genuinely asking like, okay, so what is the logic? What do we do, right? And the answer starts at what problem are we looking at first, right?
Okay.
If the answer to that is homelessness, there are plenty of homeless shelters across the country that are filled to the brim. There are cities that need more homeless shelters, and so that's a place where a government could or should step in, right? Los Angeles, I guarantee you most of the homeless shelters out there are already filled up. That's probably why there's so many people living on the street in Skid Row. San Francisco, same story, right? So
Portland's like the worst.
Yeah, now whether that's done at the city, the state, whatever level, that's a different question to be had. And so then you have to ask the question, okay, what is the federal government supposed to do? Should the federal government step into LA and say, hey, mayor of LA, you're not handling your shit, we're going to build a bunch of homeless shelters?
And here's where I think we're overcomplicating things.
Where can they build stuff though? But where like when they have to like take land up, and then now we're like, oh my god, the environment, they're building houses new because there's nowhere they can't like.
Dude,
you know?
if the people are here, they're taking up space. That there's enough space for people. If people need shelter, you build the shelter. Period. If you need people to build a shelter, you employ.
People own land.
The government owns land. If you need people to build a shelter, you employ the homeless to build the homeless shelters. I think.
I don't think they have the land where it's more convenient.
But like New York City, they probably don't have the land.
There are more abandoned. There are tons and tons and tons. I think there's more abandoned buildings in some of these cities than they're actually being used.
I was gonna say that, like foreclosure and everything. Like you're right, but again, these other privatized and owned by people who are it starts getting back to greed. Right?
Exactly, it comes back to greed. It comes back to greed. It just keeps coming back to greed. But and it comes back to bureaucracy. If people need shelter, you build them homes. If people are hungry, you feed them. You stop throwing out. You were talking about why you shouldn't privatize public transportation. Grocery stores are privatized. Grocery stores, if they don't sell their food, they throw it out. The grocery stores, on average, throw out 40% of their food. They overfill their shelves, and they throw out 40% of their food that you don't buy.
And it makes sense if you think about why. Because if they said, okay, we're not selling, we'll just give away the rest of the stuff we have.
Then you just wait. No one would pay for groceries.
They just wait until it's, So how do you solve that? Well, maybe the answer is you give a voucher like SNAP or EBT or something like that, right?
Word.
Now, people abuse that, for sure. I've seen people. I used to work at Wawa, which for those of you on the West Coast is like 7-Eleven, basically. People would come in at midnight with their SNAP or their EBT card and buy overpriced subs and sodas and smokes.
But I'm also like, so what? So what? I'm feeding people who take advantage of the system.
You don't know who's on break or not. and how convenient it is for them to go to the 7-Elevens. But I get what he's saying. I know what you mean. But you got to figure out who's on break, how convenient it is to get on food when you're on break and stuff like that.
And the only reason that you care is because you were not paid a reasonable wage as that worker. If you were paid, who gives a shit?
That's why you're approved in the first place, because you don't make enough money.
If you're making a livable wage and your bills are paid, what do you care if your taxes go to a hot sandwich to a homeless person who's not working as hard as you? I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I'll feed all the homeless people on my wage if I know I can go home and sleep under a roof reasonably. Yes, there's a lot of fraud. I would rather.
I think you might have said like a bad point.
We are funding war crimes in Yemen. Who cares?
All right, now we're just. That was a nice attempt to distract, but now we've gone so far off the rails. The point that I think we're all trying to make is that it's a really complicated problem, and maybe we should give our Congress people more credit for trying to figure this stuff out. I think that's what we settled on, is MTG is actually a hero. I think we lost Kyle, by the way, at least on my end.
His Wi-Fi
Kyle,
took a
you
poop.
look like you're going to come through my computer monitor and murder me.
Right.
Look, what I think is funny about all of this is we've been, I think, mostly on the same side on all these topics, but we're not communicating well, and so
I agree.
Everyone's arguing.
I agree, because I just want to be able to afford to eat. I don't care if I want everyone to be able to eat, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think Kyle's question was who's at fault, and my answer is whoever's in charge.
Probably. On a lighter topic, me and Matt got into Pokemon cards recently, and scalpers are making the shit just straight up unaffordable. Subsidized Pokemon cards, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. I should re-download Pokemon Go. I didn't have enough space on my phone.
That game's crack, and it'll just siphon money out of your pocket. That's my hot tip.
Fair enough.
That's all I'm saying.
We're just staring at Kyle's face.
I know. At least the last frame, he was kind of happy looking.
Right, exactly.
Not like he was gonna devour my soul.
Well, that was an exciting episode.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. I
There was
tried to play more of a referee role.
I did notice that. I did notice you take a step back and you were kind of just like you played the big brother.
The moderator, yeah.
Yeah, you did a good moderator
I was the
role.
Piers Morgan. I was supposed to be just refereeing, but then occasionally I would come in and body slam someone.
That's definitely right. 100%. That's the Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan or maybe WWE or something. I don't know. One of those two.
Just lying in the shadows, wait for a sneaker, and then step back to the side.
Exactly, and just come out with a folding chair and smack someone upside the head.
I enjoyed this episode. Do you want to you want to keep going?
No, I'm good. I'm about to get some halal food. Oh.
Yeah, I'm starving myself.
I'm not Muslim, by the way. Not that matters. I don't have anything against Muslim people, but I just want to point out that when I say halal food, it's not for religious reasons. I just like chicken and rice. You can edit all of this out, frankly.
I was actually going to open with it.
I mean, look, for the meme, it might be worth it.
But, let's do an outro. All right, everybody. Why don't you do the outro this time?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I think the moral of the story was that shit's fucked up and complicated and no one knows what the fuck they're doing. Kavan said he likes Candace Owens and Marjorie Taylor Greene because they're figured these out.
Beep and all this.
This is my outro. Shut the fuck up. Thank you, everyone, for tolerating us. We love you all. And
absolutely
have a wonderful rest of your week or whatever.
Later. Love, peace, and procreate.
Peace.
Peace.